Let's welcome from CJ Affiliate Product Director, Aruna Bagtani.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Aruna Bagtani, and I'm a Director of Product here at CJ. I've been with CJ for almost 8 years now, and I've had the opportunity to work on a variety of different product initiatives, including most recently our personalization product offering that we actually just launched this week. So super excited about that. In my role on the product team, I obviously am very fortunate to have the opportunity to speak to a number of advertiser and publisher clients and really help build products and solutions that help you guys accomplish your goals through the affiliate channel. And as we've been talking to our advertiser and publisher clients over the last year and a half or so, the need to take more of a customer-centric approach and really leverage the information that you have on your customers has emerged as a key trend in an effort to enable differentiation. Now, personalization is obviously a very compelling topic, so I'm beyond excited to have such a fantastic group of panelists to discuss how we can bring personalization strategies to the affiliate channel. But before we dive into the panel, I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about what personalization means and why it matters. There's a number of companies out there that are talking and buzzing about personalized marketing. And personalization has come to mean everything that's even remotely targeted or customized. But when we talk to marketers such as yourselves, what you're really looking for is one-to-one personalization at scale. And we define one-to-one personalization as the ability to recognize, reach, and staying connected to a sizable number of individuals whom we know a lot about through ongoing meaningful conversations in real time and being able to learn and optimize as you go. I wanted to call out a couple of key components or dimensions that you absolutely need to keep in mind when you're thinking about enabling personalization. Starting off with individual user profiles that really help you understand and anticipate your customers' needs. This means all of your customer data, purchases, loyalty programs, site visitation history, browsing behavior, all of that needs to be tied back to anonymized user profiles, which is what's made actionable at the point of messaging. Having genuine personalized creative, where many aspects of the communication, like the product, the image, the offer, all of that is calibrated to individual users. Having recognition technology that allows you to recognize a consumer across different devices with unprecedented accuracy. Having a 360 customer profile that is informed by not just online, but also offline transactions. And we know today's consumer lives in a multi-channel, multi-device world, so the ability to have that omni-channel reach where you can message that omni-channel consumer wherever they're spending their digital time. And lastly, this notion of creating an ongoing one-to-one relationship between the brand and the consumer, where you're leveraging personalization to not just satisfy the needs of the customer today, but you're using it to understand and anticipate the changes in their needs over time and responding to that. So now that we have a good sense of what personalization means, what sort of a framework you need to have put together to be able to execute upon it, let's talk about why it matters. So our parent company, Epsilon, conducted a survey earlier this year where they surveyed consumers between the ages of 18 and 64. And really the goal was to understand the impact that personalization can have on the relationship between a brand and a consumer. And the results really tell us how consumers actually feel about personalization. 90% of the consumers said that they find personalization tactics appealing, whereas 80% of the consumers indicated that they're much more likely to do business with a brand that offers personalization. And 66% of the consumers indicated that they think companies today are doing a much better job in terms of creating personalized experiences. So what does this tell us? This tells us that the appeal for personalization is extremely high. Consumers not only want it, but they also expect it. And the good news for companies that can actually deliver upon this promise is that consumers are willing to spend a lot more in return for such a tailored service. That's the power of personalization. The panelists that we're going to be talking to today are going to demonstrate concrete strategies and tactics in terms of how they're looking to achieve success by enabling personalization. With that, let's kick off our panel discussion and welcome our lovely panelists. Round of applause, please. All right, let's start with some introductions, shall we? Simon, why don't you go first?
Great. My name's Simon Bird. I'm the co-founder of RevLifter. We're a real-time deals personalization platform. I've spent the last 14 years in affiliate marketing. I started off many years ago working at Affiliate Window, and then I left Affiliate Window and I joined Savings.com and grew their international division and grew coupon sites to 14 markets. And I left Cebu last year, about a year ago, to build RevLifter, and looking forward to sharing some insights about our journey.
Awesome. Great.
Hi, I'm Amber Uray. I'm Director of Digital Marketing and Media at Express. Basically, I oversee all of our paid media that's in marketing, from broadcast to paid search, paid social, obviously affiliate marketing that's here, but really my responsibility is like, what is the next best place to reach either a new customer or continue to convert our existing customers? So we continue to grow that there. I've been there about 8 years, so I've been through a lot of these different journeys and a lot of different ways of unlocking personalization.
Hi everyone, I'm Matthew Smith. I'm the head of e-commerce at Future Publishing, and it's a pleasure to be here. For those of you who don't know Future, we're a global content publisher specializing in the tech and gaming space. Sites such as TechRadar, T3, PC Gamer, and Games Radar. And the last few weeks, we welcomed the Perch brands into our portfolio as well, so Tom's Guide, Tom's Hardware, and Top 10 Reviews. Affiliates is a huge part of our business. We drive around 12,000 transactions a day across our sites, and we reach about 100 million uniques a month. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about personalization.
Hi, I'm Howard Chow. I'm the Director of Product for Savings.com. I think Simon actually gave a pretty good overview of the company. We're a global company. We have several sites throughout the world with couponing sites, doing affiliate marketing. So I head up our entire product team, which we're building out our user-facing websites, apps, a lot of internal tools to help us really help our SEM activities.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the introductions. So, panelists, you've heard me talk about my definition of personalization and how it's become almost a baseline consumer expectation, and also how companies are heavily investing in the area to truly differentiate themselves. I'd like to hear from each of you what your organization's approach to personalization is and how you're ramping up efforts in that area. So Simon, if you could articulate that for us, that would be great.
Great, thank you. So we're purpose-built for real-time, one-to-one personalization. So essentially, I mentioned before, I was running coupon sites around the world, and one of the things I noticed, both as a consumer but also as an operator of coupon sites, as millions of consumers every day land on coupon sites, these coupon sites don't know who the consumer is and what they're about to buy. So essentially what we do is that we basically read the retailer's basket in real time, understanding if it's a new customer, an existing customer, what products they have in the basket. And as consumers land on a coupon page that we would build for a retailer and live on the retailer's website, we can basically personalize every offer with 100% precision on this new landing page. And since launching this initiative, we've often doubled conversion rates and doubled average order values. And essentially, the big takeaway I hope to communicate with you today is if you show the right consumer the right deal at the right time, it's going to do something special. In terms of how we're ramping up, so we've gone global. We're working in 5 markets already. And essentially, our next big stage is to integrate heavily with CJ's personalization tool, which can basically tell us in real time if it's a new-to-file customer or an existing customer and other attributes. And we can combine that knowledge with our real-time basket data and create a really special outcome.
Awesome. And Amber, as a retailer that's always taken an omni-channel approach, what are some of the things that you guys are doing at Express?
Well, I think we really had to start with the insights, like you said, and that individual user and who our customers are, and defining, what are they within our network or within our customer base. If you guys know our brand, we're very where to work or party and going out. I mean, so that's different personas. How do we tailor that messaging to that different type of consumer? You might be dressy, you might be more casual. So it's really dividing that user base. Number one, it was getting our insights team to organize our data. Honestly, we had to start at square one. I mean, we're still redefining our own customer data hubs at this time. And then it was looking at, what's that consumer journey and how do we continue to contact them? And then, going to individual, again, channels and understanding how we can personalize within those channels or reach those customers in a different way or contact them differently, things like that. And we had to do a lot of testing. We had to understand what drives in-store, what drives online, and then go back to what works, and again, it's not perfect. We're continuously changing that, but we'll continue to get better.
Awesome. And any nuances to the approach, Matt, based on you guys being a content publisher?
Yeah, so for us, personalization is a pretty new thing, and I see the opportunity as a way to better engage with our audiences. So as a content publisher, we specialize in buying advice. So of the 100 million uniques that we have a month, the majority of those users are arriving on a buying guide, a deals post, or a review of a product. And the job of those articles is basically to do two things. The first one is to help that audience find the right product for them and make sure we can give our expert advice and let them buy something. And then the second job is then, once they've chosen their product, is to help them find that product at the best price from the most trusted retailers. And we've worked quite hard to target those retailers, geographically and on a product category level, and make sure we're offering the best deals and the best options. But where I really see the opportunity with personalization is take that a big step further. So yes, we might know that a certain retailer performs really well for a certain category, but we don't know if that user prefers that retailer. So if that user lands on our sites and we can tell them that they like to shop at a particular place, or they already have an account set up at that retailer so the transaction process is really smooth, or they like to use coupons or cashback, or they like to favor in-store delivery so they can pick up in store, or they like one-day delivery or two-day delivery. If we have that information to hand when the user lands on our pages, not only can we serve them the best products for them, but we can also serve the most relevant retailers, and that can massively help drive click-through rates and conversion rates on our side and improve our revenue as a publisher.
Awesome. And Howard, as a fellow product person, I'd love to hear how your roadmap has kind of shifted to incorporate personalization.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge that we have is that our user journey, or the part that we can control, is actually a lot shorter than a lot of traditional publishers. People typically are on a merchant site shopping, they see the coupon code box when they're about to check out, and then they Google search, what's the coupon code for this particular retailer. And they come to our site, and then if they can, whatever they can get, then they jump back out back to the cart. So within that amount of time, and also, we really have to figure out we have basically a short period of time to try to get that person to convert or to take some action that increases their chances of converting when they go back to the merchant site. So what we're looking at is really what kind of data can we get about the user ahead of time before they get to our site, or what kind of things can we put in front of the user even on the Google search pages to say, hey, come to us, and then this is what you're going to get. Set some expectation, and then hopefully we can get them to convert better once they land back onto the merchant sites.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now, the reason why we have advertisers and publishers on panels like these is so we can get a more holistic perspective. I have a question about the affiliate customer journey that I'm going to pose to all of you. Now, we know that the affiliate customer journey involves two parties, the advertiser and the publisher, that are working towards creating the best experience for the consumer and ultimately getting that conversion. Who do you think owns the consumer in that specific path to conversion? Let's start with the advertiser perspective here.
I think we both do, right? They're just as much your customer as they are, I keep looking at things, as they are ours. I mean, they're really, in our publishers, it's their first experience, really, right? And what are they looking for when they come to you? And then how do we know what's best to message them or help convert them that's best for you? There's so many different types of publishers out there, and there's different ways that we can customize our programs to be right for that consumer.
Simon, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Amber, and I think it also depends on what kind of publisher you are as well. I think a lot of the cashback sites, for example, would argue that they're driving a lot of that kind of customer base that eventually lands on your site, and it becomes like a co-marketing approach, doesn't it? The RevLifter approach really is we believe the retailer owns the customer. So that's why we live on a retailer's website and we act as the retailer. So that's kind of our approach from day one. But I think it differs from publisher to publisher.
Matt, would love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, so I agree predominantly with Simon in the fact that I think the retailer ultimately owns the customer, and I can see how it differs for different types of publishers. Cashback publishers and voucher publishers slightly different, but from our perspective, we don't have a lot of the information on that customer that the retailer has. So we don't have the CRM data, we don't have their locations, we don't have their email addresses, we don't have their bank account details. All that data on their shopping habits we don't own. So therefore, I think the retailer owns that. But what we think we come into play as a content publisher is that whilst the retailer may own the customer, we probably more likely control and influence where they shop in terms of the fact that the widgets and what we show on our site and the retailers that we show on our site influences what they click through to and where they go off and buy. So whilst we necessarily don't own that customer itself, I think we have a lot of influence over where that customer shops and the places they like to buy.
Awesome. Howard?
I mean, 100% agree. It's definitely a shared responsibility. The only nuance I would add is, to make sure that when customers, if they come in through, savings.com or couponing site, and then they go to the retail site, it's like you don't want to create an experience that is too jarring or sets the expectations inappropriately. You don't want to trick them basically, or so when they get to the retail site, you don't want them to think, well, that's not the discount that I expected to have, and that might kind of anger the customer a little bit. So definitely, the responsibility falls on everyone's shoulders.
Yeah, and we've always thought of it as a co-marketing opportunity where the advertiser and the publisher are working together to create the right messaging strategies to ultimately get that consumer to convert, because the publisher already has some data on that specific consumer based on the activity that's happening within the site. And with the inclusion of the advertiser CRM data, that becomes a lot more powerful to ultimately get them to that point of conversion. So completely agree with the responses here. Now, we've heard about your approach to personalization, the investments being made in that area. I'd love for you to share with the audience here any sort of success stories in terms of how it's already had a positive impact. Simon, I'd like to start with you on that because you and I have chatted about some use cases that you mentioned where you guys use time of day and weather to personalize the experience. So anything that you can share, I think, would be awesome.
Great. I mean, it's what we do day in, day out. And I guess some of the stories I'll share with you now, because we can show the right deal to the right consumer at the right time based on knowing exactly who the consumer is and what they're about to buy, you can do some really amazing things. At the moment, we're operating in 5 markets, and certain retailers, for example, tell us that the weather might play a really important role in their business. And we're working with a very, very large pharmacy, and they obviously sell a lot of sunscreen or they hay fever solutions. So we can trigger deals, for example, based on pollen counts and UV levels, which is pretty cool. And because we know the consumer's IP address in real time, we can associate a consumer's location with the weather in that area. Another thing that we do, which is really cool, is basically flexing the offers based on the time of day. So a lot of our advertisers basically look at, in Google Analytics, for example, they can see at certain times of the day or days of the week they might not do as well. So we can basically encourage retailers to think about flexing the offers and doing more, better offers in areas at times that they don't do as well in. But essentially what we all want in this room are incremental sales. And this is the big thing I want to address quickly. The retailers we work with, we can report on incrementality by doing A/B testing, but also more importantly, we do a basket freeze before and after someone sees a RevLifter personalized offer. And that is when we can prove we've driven dramatic results. And like I said to you before, we can often double a conversion rate compared to other coupon affiliates and double average order values. And of course, the caveat there is you've got to give us the right deals to work with. But it's super powerful, and I can tell you it genuinely does work.
Awesome. Amber, any recent case studies based on some tactics you guys have tried in the affiliate channel?
In the affiliate side too, I mean, I think there's a couple. First, Simon, we're meeting later, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We do need to get that personalized. We're not there yet. So I think there's a couple of things. One, when we had our own customer data, the easiest journey for us to unlock first, obviously, is email and then our Next loyalty program. So within Next, just identifying those profiles and really understanding when is that customer going to potentially lapse after they come into us? When's the next time we give them a higher Next reward, system? Things like that. That has really unlocked our loyalty program, and it has increased, and we have doubled the size of our loyalty program too, and have doubled the frequency in which those consumers purchase because we just continued that contact strategy, right? And then on the affiliate side too, it's really how do we connect that too? How do we connect our loyalty type experience to a cashback offer or to the offers that publishers can also put in front of them too, so that it all becomes consistent? I mean, affiliate, we're really just testing right now. So,
Yep.
How do we continue to do that so we can give more exclusive offers, so we can put out more rich offers to our customers too that are yours? Right now it's really hard without that personalization and not knowing what that customer is coming to your sites, being able to put out a more rich offer. So I'd love to be able to do that and give that, but it's really hard at this point.
Right, and the way we've also focused on building our technology with our own tooling here is think about personalization as being additive, right? The fact that we're bringing targeting capabilities to the affiliate channel, that's going to unlock more investment, more budget. That's
Definitely.
available in other channels, but we haven't been able to bring that within affiliates. So that's really the goal here. Matt, I know you guys are probably just dipping your toes into personalization, but any case studies that you can share or things that you guys are thinking of doing?
Yeah, I mean, exactly that. We are dipping our toes, and I think given the, the launch of your tool and everything else, that can really help sort of speed things up and make things happen quicker. And we're really looking for those advertisers that want to share that data with us so we can start testing personalization and work beyond what we've already been doing. Weirdly enough, actually, probably the biggest area of our business that has benefited most from personalization isn't anything to do with affiliates. It's actually probably the oldest part of our business, which is magazine sales. So, which Future was a traditional magazine publisher. We have about 130 different magazine brands which we circulate globally, and many of those are bought on subscriptions. And we actually, our subscriptions teams use personalization, use data that we know on our customers that we have about what they buy and where they buy it and what sort of deals they want, if they like to buy 12-month packages or 36-month packages, different loyalty schemes. We actually use that to target the magazine offers at them. So weirdly enough, the oldest, most antiquated part of our business in magazines is the bit that's actually using personalization first.
Awesome, and now it's about emulating that in the digital world, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like I say, we're just looking for retailers to start sharing that data with us, and I think it could be a huge benefit to the work we're doing on site and within affiliates.
Awesome. Howard, any recent tactics using on-site personalization or even email personalization that has yielded positive results?
Yeah, so like I mentioned,
share
we
that.
kind of get the customer for a very short amount of time in most cases. So one of the things that we did test that actually was very successful was on our Google search, on the Google search results page, we actually changed the wording and personalized it to people's user devices, because we can tell what devices that they're looking at the results from, and really just kind of tweaking the wording a little bit, and based on that, we actually saw a 30% lift in click-through rates.
Awesome.
So that was,
That's
very happy
really
with
awesome.
that.
Yeah. It's really great to hear all these success stories because it validates the impact of a well-executed personalization strategy. Now, obviously, we all understand the merits of personalization, but we know that it does require coordination across different departments where you need to have your data assets, your content, your targeting logic, all of that aligned, right? So I want to ask each of you if you can talk a little more about your approach that you've taken to build advocacy around the concept of personalization, and also how you've managed to line up additional resources or even more investment to enable that. So, Amber, I want to start with you on that because Express has always been an early adopter of our product innovations, be it affiliate customer insights or even personalization now. So any strategies or tips and tricks that you can share with the people in the room here?
I think for me internally, I feel like it's been my job the last few years. I mean, it's just to be an advocate of like what our partnerships and programs can do and how they can measure, and to like educating our cross-functional teams throughout the business. I mean, it's everything from legal to sharing data. I mean, that's a big hurdle, number one. IT governance teams to ensure that that data is secure and protected. Obviously, our leadership's team of why we need this data. I think for us, we got lucky because it really was pushing the driving, the measurement on online to in stores. So that really helped sharing all that customer data. And now it's evolved to this personalization layer that we can do. So that helps set us up for that success and make it a little bit easier. But I literally have conversations, sits down meetings with our legal team, with our IT person that has to create a file and why we're doing it, what kind of data it gives us. And then I also make sure to share those results cross-functionally because it's important to their success and what they're doing in their jobs and mine, so in our team. So I think that's really what's helped us, or myself, selfishly, internally, is just really getting everyone's support, or else it just becomes another project they don't want to get to, and then it's hindering all of our results too. So it's taken time. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of meetings, but for us on the retail side, it's starting to work and evolve, and now it's easier, and now we have more analyst teams to help us. We have a bigger IT team, et cetera, because of this movement in the industry and digital.
It's awesome. Now, Simon, you work with advertisers across different verticals. What sort of a business case do you have to put together to typically get them to invest in this partnership and build advocacy around what you guys are doing?
Great question. So we're working with really large advertisers all around the world, like HP or Lenovo, those sorts of advertisers. And it always starts and ends with the simple question, what's important to you, what are you trying to achieve in your business, and you get a huge variety of answers back. Some advertisers tell us that they want more new customers, or margins really important to them, or driving consumers in store. It really depends on what they want. The next question we often get asked is, who are you working with, and do you have case studies? And that's, of course, where we need to sort of demonstrate we have experience often in their sector or their area. And then the third thing I would say is basically coming up with an ROI on, if you do this, how much more is it going to drive you?
Forgot to mention that part. That was the big
It's
part.
the money
Selling
part,
finance,
right?
yes.
And that creates the advocacy for you internally to say, you know what, if we do this, the guys at RevLifter think you can do that. And I think that's super duper important. And then if there was a fourth thing, it's basically equipping retailers with the conversation and the information to be able to then influence the rest of the team, whether it be InfoSec or the GDPR legal team or the CMO or a board member or an MD. And so we're really good at that, about equipping you with the right information to go and make your business case internally and go, you know what, it's a no-brainer.
Awesome. Matt, what sort of a business case that you guys have to typically put together to enable any new innovation, not just personalization? If you can
Yeah,
talk
so
about
I think
that.
sort of Simon hit the nail on the head earlier. It's about ROI. So we're an ROI-driven business. We will invest in the stuff that makes us money. We've built our own CMS. We've built our own affiliate technology called Hawk. We built our own ad stack. And we've got a great tech team that will really invest in stuff like this. And I think if we can show what the ROI is going to be, test with a few partners, demonstrate the uplift, and I think then the business buy-in kind of writes its own case. We will go and invest in it, and I think it's that simple, really.
Awesome. So let's talk about the next step here in terms of being able to bring scale to the execution process, right? So once you've got the investment, you've got the tech resources aligned, what role do you think can a network play in terms of either facilitating more data sharing between the advertiser and the publisher, or even bringing more additional partnership opportunities to the table? So, Simon, if we can start with you on that.
Yeah, great. I mean, obviously, it's a lot of it's about education. So, the network should be out there, educating retailers and at these sorts of events and case studies and opinion pieces. Beyond that, obviously, networks are great because they can create introductions and to facilitate business. And then beyond that, in your particular case, CJ has got a great account management team that can support integrations and account management, that kind of thing. So. And then lastly, I would say, going back to your personalization tool, not many networks are investing in personalization and making the data available in real time. And I guess you've got the benefit of being owned by Conversant or Epsilon Alliance Data. So you've got a huge cookie pool and data pool that we can tap into.
Yep.
So that's a real benefit too when approaching personalization, is just knowing more about a consumer before they make a purchase and also afterwards as well.
Amber?
You guys really are a hub, right? You're really kind of helping the publishers and us really make it work. So I do lean on the network and CJ to really help educate us and the publisher too, and really take them through, like you said, the integration, that's the hardest part usually. And then, how do we work together? So just to make it happen.
Right.
I don't know.
Matt, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, for me, the network role is all about trust. So I think that a lot of retailers and publishers, whilst they work closely together, then the network allows them to work together and trust what each other's doing. And I think when it comes down to data sharing, that's even more important. So if a retailer is going to give a publisher loads of data that they can use for personalization, then they need to trust that publisher is going to look after that data properly and use it in the right ways. And so I think the network can be there. If the network recommends a publisher, and likewise to a publisher, a network recommends an advertiser, that gives that level of trust and makes sure that both parties' interests are being looked after. I think that's really important because you need that kind of middle ground to do that.
Absolutely. Howard?
Yeah, I would mirror that. I mean, historically, the biggest, biggest thing that networks have done for us is really helping us open a lot of doors, making a lot of introductions to the right retailers and advertisers who are looking for where we're a good fit for. Going forward, I'd like to see the networks, and I know you guys are doing a lot of this in personalization, is being able to share more data with us. Since users are kind of going through through the networks, it's nice to get additional data that we may not have that you guys do have. We'd be able to use that to craft a more personalized experience.
Absolutely. So I want to shift gears here a little bit and talk about creating an enhanced customer experience in the age of GDPR and other privacy regulations. So on the one hand, consumers expect an even more personalized experience. And on the other hand, data privacy regulations like GDPR are on top of mind, right? So as marketers, we almost have to balance these two seemingly opposing priorities. So I'd like to ask each of you, do you think there's a trade-off between data-driven marketing and privacy? And how are you approaching this as marketers? Howard, can we start with you on this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's definitely a conflict there, right? And the strategy is really to find that right balance. And what we've done is really, you want to try to avoid that creepy factor by being too personalized, or what we try to do is really, kind of like with GDPR. I know the effort that they were trying to make is really give users that expectation and give them, let them know up front what you're collecting from them, and that really makes people feel a lot better. And then once they kind of know that, and there's that level of transparency, then I think people are comfortable giving their data. They just need to know what you're going to do with it and what exactly they're giving you and what you're taking from there.
Matt?
Yeah, I agree with Howard, right? And I think it actually comes down to education. So I think, and I've lived through GDPR being an EU resident. I go on sites every day and have to click it. And in my opinion, GDPR's probably failed a little bit. So we used to have accept all cookies, and now we have accept all cookies in a bigger box, and that's basically what GDPR is. And it was meant to be there to kind of, give users that freedom to understand what their data is being used for, and it doesn't really do that. If you click, view more details, whatever the button is, actually all you get is a big, long list of, 300 ad tech companies, and no one recognizes the names, no one knows what they actually do, and you just end up consenting to loads of stuff that you don't really know what it is. So actually I think what we should be doing instead of that is we should be educating the customers about what we're using that data for and how it can benefit them. And so the fact that it can drive greater savings for them, the fact that it can help them shop better, that they can get more personalized deals, I think that's the really important aspect of it. And I think that's where the trade-off will happen. And if we don't do that, then less and less consumers, given Facebook and Cambridge Analytica and all the other stuff that's happened, they're going to be less willing to share their data. And actually what's going to happen is we're just going to end up where we can't deliver personalization because users won't let us. So we have to really educate them and tell them what the benefits are.
So, Amber, how are you guys keeping a balance between being customer-centric and at the same time staying compliant with a lot of these regulations?
It is about that opt-in and then just making sure, we are giving customers transparency on what we're doing with their data. I think the biggest hurdle for us whenever we're trying to do something, though, is in-store, right? We capture most of our customers in-store. There's not legal's can we put up a sign at the cash register? I don't know, that's gonna be a challenge, so that's the sensitive area on our side too. Digital is much easier, right, to have in that opt-in and really give them a place to, if they really wanna know, and educate them, but in-store is the next hurdle for us too.
Simon?
And I mean, these guys have pretty much covered it, but I would only add to say, and summarize maybe, as long as the consumers understand or that they can opt in and opt out whenever they want, and there's a value in someone else holding their data, I think it's important too. And also not bamboozle consumers with lots of terms and conditions they don't understand. I think it's going to be really user-friendly and easy to understand from a consumer's perspective. And as Wally was saying at the keynote yesterday, we're in a really exciting time and it's only going to get tougher. And we've seen GDPR in Europe and that's been a big thing to deal with. We understand that in many states across America, they'll be adopting various degrees of GDPR. It's going to be really fascinating to see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, to summarize, as marketers, we just need to balance personalization with responsibility, right? While customer data is arguably the company's most valuable asset, trust is really the currency that drives sustainable business. And even as a network for us, we've always had the consumer's privacy in mind, and we've put solutions in place specifically for GDPR where we're being completely transparent about why the data is being collected and how it's being used. And just having that transparency in place helps you continue to build and retain that trust. So I know we wanted to save some time for questions, so I want to pose one last question to you guys before we switch gears and take some questions for the audience. What advice do you have for people in the room in terms of where they can start and think about enabling personalization? Simon.
In the spirit of time, a quick soundbite from me really is basically start really simple and begin with the end in mind. It can be quite overwhelming, the journey you will take on personalization, and for clients, when we go through all the different bells and whistles, it can be overwhelming. So start super simple and get clever over time.
Mm-hmm. For us, it really, again, was a channel-by-channel approach, and how are we testing each one of our partners and the different methods of personalization, and then educating those results. I mean, we're still not perfect. How do we bring it all together, hopefully, someday? But just going one by one, whether it's just creative, whether it's the segments that we're targeting, things like that.
Awesome. Matt?
Yeah, so we're about to begin this journey, so it's hard to really offer advice, but our approach essentially is going to be find some partners that we already work well with, that are trusted, that we like, and to pick 2 or 3, go kind of into personalization step by step with those guys, and see how it works, look at the revenue reporting, and look at the uplift it has. And the other thing that I would say is that, as coming from a publisher and to retailers in the room, is I think this could be a massive thing for us, and if we can share that data and we can get that data, it can really be a game changer in trying to drive more sales. And I think we're all here trying to sort of counteract Amazon and make sure that, and Amazon will never share their data, and that they're a data-driven business. And so as a retailer, if you guys can share that data, that gives you the competitive advantage for us to promote you more, to promote you to our audiences, and to make sure that we can drive more revenue for you too.
Awesome. Howard?
Yeah, and I agree with Simon that you, to start small if you're trying to get into the space and really look at what is the data that you currently have about your user. Instead of trying to figure out all these other places where you can get massive amounts of data and customize based on that, just what do you have currently, and then figure out which ways, how you can kind of change those things to personalize the experience for your users. And just start with testing that and then go from there.
Great. Well, thank you for answering all my questions. Cool. Let's give our panelists a huge round of applause, shall we? All right. So I want to close this out with a couple of key takeaways based on some common themes that we heard throughout our conversation here, starting off with clearly defining your objectives and customer value propositions. So look at the entire customer journey when you're trying to identify opportunities for personalization. Personalization is really intended to meeting the customer's needs and helping them along the journey that they're having with a brand. Our goal, and our panelists share this perspective, is to make that journey as valuable as possible for the consumer, which in turn makes that consumer extremely valuable for us as advertisers and publishers. So think of it as a life cycle. Get them, retain them, make them valuable. And once you've defined your plan, continue to refine it with ongoing testing and measurement. And finally, personalization is an extremely collaborative venture. So enable new ways of working. Break down the silos within your organization. Reach out to the other departments to understand how personalization is being defined. Identify affiliate partnerships where you can really accomplish those goals and objectives. And ultimately, use a network like ours to really execute upon those strategies at scale. So we really hope you found this session valuable, and it's sparked a lot of ideas in your head in terms of how you can enable personalization. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your CJU.
Yeah, cool.